What would you say is the most important part of your radio? Okay, without the radio module, it's no good at all. So obviously, it's the radio module. But set that aside. Now, what is the most important part of your radio? It's the gimbals, right? Because the gimbals are what translates the motion of your fingers into the motion of the quad, and obviously if the gimbals aren't as good as they can be, then you're not going to be as good of a pilot as you can be. But there's a part of the gimbals that I think is often overlooked, and that is the stick ends. So today we're going to be looking at upgraded stick ends from companies 533 and THUMBGRIPPIES.com, and you're going to get a chance to decide if you might like these better than the stick ends that are currently on your radio. I'm Joshua Bardwell, and you're going to learn something today. This is the stick end from a Radiomaster Tx16s, and it is pretty typical of stick ends that come on most radios. And like any product that's designed to fit a wide variety of people, it's okay for most people, bad for some, and really great for almost nobody. This is the stick end from the Radiomaster Tx16s Max, and you can see it is much nicer machining than the Tx16s, but yikes! Look how sharp and spiky it is! And I think what Radiomaster was trying to do here is sort of increase the positive grip for thumb pilots, but for pilots who put in like hours and hours of practice on the racetrack, some people have said this literally cuts their thumbs and leaves them bleeding. So there's a lot of room for improvement, both in the ergonomics and just the customization of the stick ends to your particular grip. Now the stick ends in this video are from two different companies. One is THUMBGRIPPIES.com and one is 533, Evan Turner, heads up FPV's company. Blue ones are from 533, the white ones are from THUMBGRIPPIES.com. Now as you're comparing these grips, there are a couple characteristics that you're going to want to pay attention to. Now, most obvious one is the shape. So most of them have a rounded top, some of them have a sort of tapered midsection, and then a couple of them have a rounded or flat top with a sort of a ridge between the top and the sides. The second characteristic is going to be the size of the grippy spikes. Some of them have larger grippy spikes, some have smaller. The larger grippy spikes are going to give you more grip, but also poke your thumb more. Also pay attention to the fact that on some of them, the little spikes are smaller, like on the side, and larger on the top. Another relevant characteristic is the height, and that's why I've got them all lined up with this caliper here so you can judge the height. Of course, the dimensions are also on the product pages. The height is going to determine how far away from the face of the radio your fingers are. So for example, if we compare these two, this is the thumb drop, and this is known as the Q-tip. They are very similar in shape, but the Q-tip is taller. So if we put these on the radio, and a lot of people don't know this, but your thumb stick ends just screw off. The first time you take them off from the factory, it may kind of feel like you're about to break them. And if you like have one of the only radios in the world that they don't screw off and you do break them, don't blame me. So you can see here that this is just a threaded screw. Larger radios like the Radiomaster Tx16s typically have an M4 thread. Smaller radios often have an M3 thread. And then I think the FreeSky X Lite is the only one with a 2.5 millimeter thread. You're definitely going to want to check the dimensions of your screw before you order. You can either just look up online what dimensions it has, or you can take your stick ends off and try it with an M3 nut, an M4 nut, and so forth, and just see what fits. So here we've got the Q-tip on the right and the thumb drop on the left, and you can see that the Q-tip is just a little bit taller. And that means that if I fly with thumbs on the Q-tip, I'm going to have just a little bit further of an arc to move my thumb to get all the way to full extension. I'm exaggerating here, but you see the effect. Whereas with the thumb drop, it's going to be a little bit more like I'm kind of sliding around a flat plane of the radio's face. Neither of these are particularly great for a hybrid pinch or a pinch grip. So a hybrid pinch grip, in case you don't know, is where you put your thumb on top of the radio, but then you sort of reinforce it with the index finger as well. You're not really pinching. That would be more like a pure pinch grip. You got a hybrid pinch. And in both cases, your index finger is going to come in from the side. And if the sticks are ultra low, it's going to rub right here. Now, obviously, you can extend these sticks out so they come with a lock nut. And if you don't want to screw them all the way down, you can just screw them out and then turn that lock nut to lock it in place wherever you think it needs to be. Now let's talk about rounded tops versus flat or ridged tops, and which is going to be better for thumbers and hybrid pinch grip people. To make this comparison, I've got the Grandmaster from Thumb Grippies on the right and the Minchan Kim stick from 533 on the left. And you can see that the Minchan Kim stick is basically a cylinder. It's got medium-sized spikes on top to grip your thumb and small spikes on the side to sort of hold your index finger for a hybrid pinch grip. And the big differentiator for these is going to be what you feel on your thumb when you move the stick to full extension. So with a ridge around the top, as you push to full extension, your thumb is going to roll over and kind of be pressing on that sharp ridge, as opposed to a rounded top where as you push over, you are still interfacing with the smooth rounded surface, kind of no matter which angle your thumb comes in from. And again, there's no right or wrong here. It's just going to come down to your personal preference. Now, when I first saw the Grandmaster, I thought it was going to be perfect for my hybrid pinch style because this sort of waistline here looks like it would just perfectly fit your thumb for a hybrid pinch. But I actually didn't end up liking it. The ridge around the bottom here kind of digs into my thumb just a little bit. And when I hybrid pinch, I prefer to pinch more like this with my index finger right up near the top, touching my thumb, and having it forced to kind of, well, it's not forced, but having it sort of encouraged to settle into that waistline actually wasn't working for the way I like to hold the stick. Now, I have to admit, I haven't tried this thumber stick end from 533 at all because I just don't fly pure thumbs anymore. It does seem like it would be really good for people who come in from the top with their thumbs, but as you get over to the side, you still have a little bit of room to not hit this sharp ridge around the edge, but not as much room as like a full rounded off top. If you were going to try to fly it with a pinch grip, I just don't think it would work well because this sharp edge here is going to dig into your fingers. And if you try to do a hybrid pinch, once again, there isn't a lot of room down here. And you're gonna, if you move your finger up, it's gonna like start digging in. But for people who fly thumbs, this might be a good option. The next thing I want to do is show you the stick end that actually turned out to be my favorite. And it just shows how hard shopping for stick ends can be because I never would have bought this. They just threw it in and said, this is a prototype, see if you like it. And I've used it for the last few months and I absolutely love it. But before I do that, could I ask you to go down and hit the like button? That tells YouTube that you like this video and it encourages YouTube to show it to other people and helps them get the value of the video as well. Thank you so much for doing that. The stick end that I like the best is the pinch sticks from THUMBGRIPPIES. And the reason I didn't anticipate liking it is just that there's like nothing to it. Like you think about all these other stick ends and they have like a rounded surface or a wide surface and it's all this thought put into the interface between your thumb, your fingers, and the stick end. And this one basically says, you know what, let's just frickin' make it a little stick. But it just kind of feels like interfacing with nothing at all. It's got just enough grip to kind of give you something to grip onto. I don't think it would be good for a pure thumber because it just has no surface area. Maybe it would. I don't know. With thumbing, especially as your hands get sweaty, it can kind of slip a little bit and you can kind of need to readjust your thumb, and having a larger stick end I think would be good. For pure pinch, I do think it would be great because you want to just be as close to pinching your thumbs together with nothing in between them as possible. And I really like it for my hybrid pinch, even though there's not a lot of surface contact with the thumb. I just really love it. So that's the one for me. If you are interested in picking one up, there are links to the companies down in the video description below. On the other hand, if you are thinking a lot about getting the best performance from your controller and you haven't thought about upgrading your gimbals, the Radiomaster Tx16s has aftermarket gimbals, the AG01 gimbals. I put them in my radio recently and made a video about it, and I'll put a link to that up in the video description. I know not everybody out there has the Tx16s, but a whole lot of people do, and so you might want to check that out. As well, I'll put other stuff that you might be interested in, like another suggested video, or the opportunity to subscribe or join my Patreon. You could support me. If today's the day, click that link. If today's not the day, just keep watching. Hopefully someday will be. Thanks so much. Happy flying.